later. Number 1, civil target dispatch 4, Bravo, 65. 20 low. Everyone.
There we go. Hello, everybody. Hello, John, Little Twisted. We got Curtis. We got Kay in the house, and everybody's sliding in. Well, welcome, everybody, on Simply Spooky Network, Japan, and everybody else. Welcome. How are you doing there, Jacob?
I'm doing wonderful, Chris. How you doing? Doing all right?
Oh, I can't complain. Yeah.
All right.
Happy New Year. I haven't seen you in a while.
Absolutely. Yeah. Happy New Year to all of you all tuning in too. Thanks for coming back. It's 2025. Holy moly, guys. It's like, how did it get here? Wasn't it just yesterday we were doing like the whole Y2K thing and wondering about like would the whole world, fall apart and back in 2000? It's like, oh my God, it's 25 years later. It's like,
I know, right? Isn't that something? Hey, Rita, welcome to the show. And London, everybody tuning in. I know, right? I'll never forget the Y2K thing. That was crazy, wasn't it?
Yeah, it really was. And I at that time I worked for IBM. And so it's like the inside scoops were like people were freaking out because they truly didn't know what was going to happen. It was like, oh my God, the contingency plans all over the place. But boy, yeah, it was crazy time. But yeah, that was good. And I'm feeling very blessed where I'm living right now. Because I see there's fire and ice happening around the country. So, before we get too much into the show, I wanted to ask everybody to, remember our brothers and sisters that are dealing with the fires in California and the ice storms down in Texas and across all of Louisiana and that whole swatch there. It's a rough ride for a lot of people. So let's all keep them in our prayers and put some really good energy out there to keep people safe and, do check in on your loved ones and friends if you have them in those areas, make sure everybody's doing okay. So you have that peace of mind. But I feel very blessed right now here in Wisconsin. It's cold, but, we don't even have a lot of snow. We had some snow for Christmas, but it's just been fine. So I'm like knocking wood and like saying, yep, I'm not complaining about anything. Life is good, and I'm kind of in that New Year mode, guys. It's like, what is the new year? It's an opportunity to redefine what are you doing? What do you want? Who are you? Where do you want to be? It's all about, people talk about resolutions, right? And resolutions, I used to make them. I don't know. How about you, Grizz? Did you make resolutions ever? Did you ever used to write that stuff?
Yeah, to be happy.
Yeah. And so they've changed in nature over the years. Like, when I was younger, the resolution might be, oh, I'm going to, stick to this diet and exercise plan or I'm going to lose, 10 or 20 pounds by Easter or what, it was like, it was very kind of worldly and not really profound in any way at all. And now I find my resolutions are much more about focusing on the things that are important, paying attention to spirit more diligently, and finding the joy in the service to others, right? So it's not that personal, worldly, I got to do this to make me better, which is not a bad thing, right? Being healthy is good. And you can't really help others if you're not feeling well, so it's always makes sense to heal yourself and work on that. But I've just noticed over the years the nature of those resolutions were different. And it became more of an agreement with myself. Like, okay, I'm going to do this year. Not because there's almost something implied with the resolutions. There's actually even a commercial on TV, and they say January 14th is National Quitters Day, because apparently by the second Friday of January, people's resolutions throughout the window, they basically lasted 2 weeks. And I'm like, no. That's not the right kind of resolution if you can't really keep it going. But making it more of, what do you want to manifest out there, guys? What do you want for yourself and your loved ones this year? Putting the clarity of thought into the universe and putting that energy out there and seeing the you that you're becoming, that you just aren't yet, is a noble effort. Manifesting what will help you serve your soul's purpose and find more joy in your life and find more fulfillment and allow you to create a legacy and have a positive impact on the lives of others. Those are noble pursuits. That's not selfish. And you know what? If the very first thing you need to do is get a handle on your finances, then that's an okay resolution and a thing that you manifest. Because let's face it, if we're stressed out because we don't have the money to pay our bills or to buy food or to buy gas or to just have our basic needs met, how in the world are we going to be able to extend ourselves out there to others? Because we're going to be in survival mode, right? So yeah, first things first, check off all those boxes. Make sure you figure out, what do I need to do to create the prosperity that I need and the financial flow that I need, so that I can not worry about that as much and open up my mind and my heart and my spirit, so that I can feel the promptings of spirit, that I can feel those pulls and pushes, whether they're from loved ones or benevolent beings that are trying to guide us on our path, right? So take care of the things you need to. If you're unwell, and I will tell you, I came down with something on Christmas night. I went to a party on Christmas Eve, and I went to a party on Christmas Day. And when I got home that night, all of a sudden, I'm like praying to the porcelain god, and it's coming out in places. I was like, oh my God, I haven't been that sick in ages. I'm like, did I just get food poisoning? What happened here? But there was this stomach flu that was going around, and there was lots of kids at both parties, and I hadn't been around a lot of kids. And so I picked up something. And so pretty much between Christmas and New Year's, I basically stayed very close to the bathroom and did very little but rest, right? And of course, that's frustrating. I have, like everybody, I have a to-do list. I'm a driven person. I'm like, I got stuff I got to get done, right? And I'm just laying there and I'm streaming Netflix and watching different series going, well, I guess my body needed time to heal. Well, I guess I needed to, look at the bright side. It's the first holiday season. I didn't gain weight. Woohoo, right? So, but it reminded me the importance of taking care of ourselves, right? Our first responsibility is us. And, for people that have pets or children, we take that responsibility of being the parent, whether it's the pet parent or the child's parent, very seriously. It's like we have invited this being into our life, into our home, and we take the responsibility to care for their well-being, right? We take care of their financial needs, their food needs, their comfort. If they need love and attention, we're there. If they're struggling with something, we're there to help them. And it occurred to me that the very first being that we were given responsibility to take care of is us, right? But how many of us treat ourselves with that same diligence of being that parent for our kids or our pets or our loved ones who are in our care, right? it's like somehow it's almost like we forgot, like our first mission was this body, this person, our life. And so taking that responsibility to make sure you're the healthiest, happiest, most productive, prosperous version of yourself on whatever level of spirit, worldliness, emotion, relationship, whatever part is calling to you to fine tune, it is a noble pursuit to go after that, to take the time to make yourself a priority. See, a lot of us were raised like, oh, don't be selfish, put other people first, take care of other people. What if you have extra time, you can take care of yourself. But it's much more like, well, how can you drive somebody someplace if your car's run out of gas? How can you feed somebody that's hungry if there's no food in your fridge, right? So we want to help others, but we have to make sure that first we are in that position so that we're not draining our battery, right? What's one of the first things that we're taught to do when we're doing any spiritual work is not to rely on our own energy and energy field when we're healing. It's to tap into the universal and to kind of plug into that versus draining our batteries. And that's partly how you know if you're doing it right too, right? If you're doing that spiritual work and you're plugged into that universal outlet, metaphorically, you're not going to be exhausted after you've been of service, after you've done healing, after you've done a reading. In fact, you may feel even better, more energized, healthier, because that's come through you. You were the conduit for that to come through. So it's a different way to look at it. But one of the things I wanted to really challenge everybody and make a strong suggestion for this new year, if you haven't already given some serious thought to it, ask yourself and write down, what are the things that you could do that would make your life better on all levels, right? So start physically. Well, what would make living in your home better? Do you like your home? Great. If there's things that need to be touched up, paint, declutter, change the furniture around, do something that, makes it so that there's that good feng shui energy in it. Do something so that instead of waking up every morning and going, oh God, I got to deal with that pile of stuff over there, right? The area is clear. And so the first thing you wake up is a sense of gratitude about the day, right? So your surroundings, your environment should be that way. Your health. So if you are struggling with pain or chronic health issues or anything that's going on, it is so worth asking for help, doing what you need to the best of your ability to make steps in the right direction towards your healing, to re-strengthening your body, and to opening yourself up to joy. Because I'll tell you, as somebody who's lived with chronic pain a big chunk of my life, it's hard to be joyful when you're hurting. It's hard to stay focused and even hear the voice of spirit when you're moaning and groaning in pain, right? Right. So we have to do our best to take care of this body that was assigned to us, right? That we got. That was the very first responsibility of who we get to take care of. It's us. So making sure we do that is really important. Then you look at, what are you doing spiritually, right? Do you have a good spiritual life? And that means different things to different people. It could mean attending different kind of services and being part of a community, whether that's church or otherwise. It can be spiritually connecting with different practices where you open and expand and connect with guidance that's non-physical, and see how that is for you. Spiritual can also be, where and how are you expressing your creativity? And the gifts, the spiritual gifts that are uniquely yours, how are you sharing those and developing those and spending time doing those? And maybe it's not even starting that big with the spiritual gifts, but what kind of time are you spending doing things that bring you joy? Do you love to go bowling? Great. When's the last time you went out to join in the league, right? Do you like to go hot air ballooning? Okay, great. Certain times a year are better than others, and certain places are better. But when's the last time you did that? or gone fishing or gone running or sat there and watched your favorite comedy shows for a couple hours and just laughed your butt off so hard that you almost wound up on the floor, right? So all of those things help to show our spirit that we care about this body, we care about our life, we care about our home, and all of that preparation and fine-tuning helps us in order to be ready for the work, the purpose, whatever God, the Holy Spirit, our loved ones in spirit, the benevolent interdimensional beings, whatever you want to call them, an aspect of your own soul that's communicating to you, whatever it is that you felt and feel, I want to do this. I want to make a difference in the world. I want to positively impact others. I want to leave a legacy of love behind me, no matter how many years I have on this planet. Those are all noble pursuits. And so anytime that you devote to thinking about improving, thinking about manifesting, thinking about how can I make my life better for me and for those that I love and care about, that is time well spent, because there is a metaphysical axiom that says what you focus on grows. Where your thoughts go, energy flows. So if you are thinking about improvement, being a benefactor, being of service, creating more joy and love in your life and in your community and with the people that you know, then energy comes, inspiration comes. It's like, oh, that's what we're doing right now. That's the program. Great. Everybody gets in line, right? The higher self, the subconscious, your ego self, everybody's like all on board. The whole team's like, okay, I got it. This is what we're doing. Great. What happens if you don't do that? What happens if you kind of do the opposite, right? What if you're caught in that metaphorical quicksand? We've all been there, right? Especially after the holidays, right? Because we talked about this in prior shows. Sometimes the holidays can be rough emotionally. They can drag us down. They can make us feel like a little less than best of self. Well, sometimes, we really get stuck, but we don't do anything to help ourselves. We actually dig the hole deeper and deeper because we start down one piece of stinking thinking. And next thing you know, it's like, oh, is that the program? We're like beating ourselves up. We're talking about how unworthy we are. We're talking about how all the mistakes we made and how long it's taken us and how slow the progress is and on and on and on. Not useful, guys. Not going to get us out of the quicksand if those are the kind of thoughts. But it's very normal to start to spiral until you say, wait a minute, I don't need to do this. I do not need to make anything worse. Why? Because my first responsibility is to make me and my life the best it possibly can be. And then I can take care of all the rest of the people around me. We all talked about that, the old airline spiel that the flight attendants do, right? What are you supposed to do if the oxygen masks drop? You're supposed to put your mask on first and then help the people around you, even if it's your child next to you, right? They don't say, okay, if the oxygen mask drops, take a deep breath in and help everybody you can until you're just about passed out and hope and pray you can get back to the seat and get your own mask on before you die. That's not what they say. But that's how a lot of us go through life, right? It's like we take this deep breath in and we're trying so hard and helping and going and pushing and doing. And then we get back and we're like, we have to be kinder. So my wish for 2025 for all of us is that we can be kinder to ourselves first and then spread that kindness to everybody that we meet, everybody we touch in our life, right? To have that positive impact. First, make the positive shifts in your own life. And then as that momentum builds, affect the lives of people around you with even more and more of the positivity. All right. Oh, I picked up this this beautiful heart, and I was just sorry. I just realized I've been like waving it around, but I was holding on to it before, and it was just calling to me, this really pretty amethyst heart, and I was like, wow. Amethyst is a stone that's all about transmutation, transformation. And so amethyst is actually a really good stone to use in the beginning of the year as we're trying to make those transitions to that best version of self possible. All right. Anything you'd like to add there, Grizz? Any thoughts that popped into your mind as I'm rambling on? No. Okay. All right. So
Yeah, I'm sitting there talking, and I'm muted. It's no, absolutely so true. I agree.
Okay.
Absolutely.
All right. So I, as usual, guys, I prayed a little bit and I asked Spirit to give us some angel cards and some tarot cards for a meaning for today and some kind of like a group reading. And so the first card that came up, which we just talked about a little bit, is self-worth, right? And this angel card says self-worth bestows a sense of confidence and expectation of success and the ability to deeply love, right? Remind yourself that you are likable and lovable and you are worthy. A lot of times we get stuck with that feeling of self-worth of, did I do enough? Well, what's enough? What bar do you have that, well, unless I meet this bar and I do all these things on my checklist and this and this and this and this, I'm not good enough. Well, some programs, came into us as kids to really light a fire under us, right? But once you've gotten to a certain point in your life, having that feeling of worthiness is very important because you don't want to keep driving and pushing and driving and pushing when you're already there. It's like, why are you trying so hard when you already have that? It's like, you are a great dad. You are a great teacher. You're a wonderful mom. You're a wonderful sister. You're a great coworker. You're a wonderful neighbor. You are these things. And it's like, you don't have to prove it to anybody else about your worth because we have implicit worth by the very nature of who we are as starseed, right? As sons and daughters of the Most High God, as offspring of the Creator, whoever created us, if you don't believe in God, right? The source. We are part of the source in some way. Just by that birthright, we are worthy. You are worthy, right? There's nobody that you have to prove anything to. It's all about choices and what makes you happy, what makes you content, what brings you joy, what helps you fulfill the purpose for which you were born, right? To achieve that full measure of the creation that's possible in your life. That's the challenge. It's not about worthiness. That's like, check that box off. Been there, done that. You don't have to worry about that one anymore, right? Next. Now, granted, sometimes we are less than best and sometimes we screw up and we make mistakes and we're like, oh my God, how could I have done that? Doesn't change the fact that we are still worthy of love, worthy of joy, worthy of fulfilling our purpose. It just means that we got to pay a little bit more attention and we got to be a little more careful at times. Maybe we have to make amends if we really screwed up and hurt somebody in the process. But it's really about the next card, which is, what do you desire? The angels are asking us. So what do you want in your life? Right now, you have an opportunity to write a new script. I was teasing Grizzly before we came on. I said, not only did I close the chapter of the book, it's like I took the book and I brought it back to the library. It's like, it's gone, right? Sometimes in our life, we have to close things up and say, all right, I'm done with that. I'm not doing that anymore. And whether that's with a relationship, with a job, with a habit, because sometimes, we can be self-destructive or we can get distracted, right? And we can be distracted by very pleasurable things. And then you realize like, oh, hours and days and weeks have gone by and I really wanted to do these other things. And somehow I got lost in that distraction, right? That's okay. Wherever you are, when you catch yourself, bring it on back and leave the judgment, leave the guilt out the door. You don't need any of that. You are worthy. This is the time of year to really get clear on what do you desire? What do you want? and you start holding that vision. And as you hold that vision and speak that truth, and there's a couple of schools of thought. There's some people that say when you're manifesting, you keep it a secret, right? You don't tell anybody other, maybe one key person, but you want to keep the energy there, contained, so nobody can like poke holes in it or contaminate it or whatnot. And when I heard that, when I first heard it, I thought, maybe, but that sounds very fear-based to me, because I think personally, I like to share when there's something I'm going to be manifesting or that I'm seeing for myself. I want people to know, because I think, and I believe in the best in people, that other people can become your cheerleaders. They can offer prayers on your behalf. They can send good energy, and they might know somebody who knows somebody who can actually help you manifest that dream that much more quickly. And if they didn't know that was on your wish list, they can't help you. But if you put it out there, sure, that's a wonderful thing. And so I have that feeling that when we're trying to manifest, when you say it out loud, you own it on a deeper level. You own it and put the energy out there in a bigger way when it's announced, when it's public. It's like, okay, this is really happening. This is important to me. And so I'm putting it out there because I want every positive source that might be able to help in this process to be on board. And like I said, you never know who's going to know somebody who knows somebody. And it's like, oh, wow. You like, for example, one thing I'm trying to do, so I'll just put it out here. If any of you know, I would love to write a letter to Steve Martin and to Bill Murray. These are two people that are older gentlemen that I have admired most of my life. And I feel like I want to write a soul letter to them and just thank them. Like, they've gotten accolades and all the professional stuff. But just as a person, I just wanted to share my humble love with them of, you know what, you touched my life by your work and by your spirit. And I can tell when I look at you, you are a good man. It may not mean anything to them, but I don't know anybody who knows like their real address or their real post office box, right? So by putting it out there, somebody might say, oh, I know a producer, or I know somebody who knows somebody who, like, maybe they'll get permission to get it to you. Or if you mail it to that person, they'll forward it to you. Okay, great. Right. Well, if I didn't take the risk and put it out there and say, hey, I would like to write a letter to these guys, right? Does anybody know them? Well, the chances of me actually finding that are fewer. Now, spirit sometimes helps to pull some strings for us, right? And all of a sudden, like, you just stumble across the right person, or you're sitting next to somebody in an airplane and you start talking and you're like, oh, okay, there you go, and it happens. But the point here is with manifesting and putting patterning energy out for the future, you can do it. You can do it either way. You can hold it in like a sacred space in where nobody really knows, and you let that energy build and you send it out. Or you can publicly announce it in a way to whoever, whether it's your family, your friends. One caveat, announce it to people who are supportive. The reason most people said keep it quiet is they didn't want the naysayers. So if you're saying, hey, you know what? I always wanted to open up a restaurant. And you say that to your family and they're like, oh my God, don't do that. One out of every, 3 restaurants fail within 6 months and blah, 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 blah. Right. And so like, if you're going to get beaten down by people, if you share your dream and you share what you want to be manifesting, don't share with those people. Right. So use your discernment. But if you have a supportive group of people that they are your cheerleaders, they want you to succeed, they want you to be happy, absolutely. Let them know what your goals are. Let them know what you're working towards, because that collective energy can help it manifest that much more quickly. That's kind of what I was thinking on that.
Yeah, and
yep. And then that led to the last card, which is realization, which is bringing things into being, right? To make them real. So it's this process, and it starts with, and I loved how this kind of went, self-worth, right? Because if we don't feel worthy, we're not even going to put the energy out there, because it's like, oh, I don't really deserve this. nothing's manifesting that way. Nothing good anyway, if that's how you feel. So the first thing is you got to put that to bed. You got to say, not going there. You know what? I am a worthy individual. I'm a good person. I am starseed. I'm a son or daughter of the Most High God. I am part of the source of all that's been created. By that very nature of my being, I am worthy to be here and to be the best possible version of me I can, and to accomplish whatever my soul wanted to do in this lifetime. No questions asked. That's a given. From there, you then say, well, what do I desire now in this next year, in these next few weeks and months? What do I want to create on the levels we talked about earlier, right? Physically, financially, spiritually, emotionally, relationship-wise. Maybe this is the year that you really put yourself out there and become vulnerable and open your heart and say, okay, you know what? I got divorced 2 years ago. Maybe it's time that I start dating again. Okay, maybe, right? You'll know when it's right. But if that's how you're feeling, you kind of say, all right, let me kind of, put it out there. And you don't have to dive full in. You can put your toe in the water, right? Anything you're manifesting doesn't have to be gigundo, right? It can be a small thing. It can be small steps in the direction that eventually get you there, because some people are not comfortable with radical change, right? Most people aren't. Most people don't like change. They want to just, keep things the way they are. But in this case, if it's a positive change and manifesting something you want, take it step by step, little by little, just keep working in the direction, and that will help you get to the point where it's realized. And so when I picked the 3 tarot cards, they kind of echoed the angel cards. And I love when that happens because it just reinforces it, right? So the very first tarot card I chose, this is the 4 of Swords. This is the same card as the self-worth, because it goes back to the story of Arthurian legend, where the knights in shining armor, before they went on the quest for the Holy Grail, they would go into the chapel and they would hang their sword by a string, and they would sleep under it at night. And they would go to bed saying, okay, God, if I'm not worthy for this quest, take me this night. And when they woke up in the morning, they were like, oh, good, I must be worthy to go on my quest, right? And off they went. So this card, the tarot card of 4 of Swords, is reminding us, like, what kind of hoops are you putting yourself through to make it so that you can feel worthy? And it's saying, stop putting all these hoops there. You are worthy by definition. The next card I chose was the 3 of Swords, and this is putting to death anything that is inappropriate. It's healing your heart. It's taking all the worldly stuff and saying, you know what? I don't have to be the center or the punching bag of everybody's life. I don't have to take on the drama and the trauma of everybody else that's around me. I want my heart to be healed in this moment. I want to make the choices. Again, what do I desire, right? Same kind of thing. It's what kind of love do you want? What do you want to do? And then the third card for the future is the 8 of Cups upside down. And that is the return of the hermit. That is, I've been off into the cave. I've been thinking about what I want. Now is my time to come forward as the teacher, the artist, the musician, the person who has something to share, some information, some channeled piece of art, some music, some writing, some patent, an invention, a new process, a new way to look at things, a better relationship, better health, healing. All of these things come when we come out of the cave and come back into the world, right? It's like the in-breath and out-breath. And we do this even with the seasons, right? So in the winter season, it's typically more internalized. It's take care of the things inside, clean your house, purge, declutter, get yourself healthier, getting ready for the out-breath of spring, where we start to go out, we plant the seeds and we go through the harvest. And then there's a waiting period in the summer and then the harvest in the fall, right? So nature has these cycles. Our breathing has the cycles. Our energy have those same kind of cycles, the in-breath and the out-breath, the go into the cave and be away from people and be open to spirit and get the information you need and channel what you need and then shift, right? And then bring it out into the world. And you can just think of it this way. You go into your kitchen to prepare the meal, and then you share the meal with others, right? You bake the cake. You have to get the ingredients together. You have to, so if you're baking bread, you need the time for the bread to rise, right? That's all part of the process. None of it is wasted time. It really is, what is your intention as you're going forward? And then the last thing I wanted to share before we look at any questions or topics y'all have was from my book, and The Portal to Potential, Musa Monroe. And as you regulars know, this is a book I wrote through channeled information from Spirit. And so there's some really nice, thought-provoking, pondering type questions to answer, and things that will help you connect with your own source a little bit more. And one of the things that came through is a writing that was called Patterns. And I felt inspired to read that today. So patterns. What are the patterns of your life? What serves you on your path and in your everyday? Interrupt and redirect the patterns, thoughts, and actions which distract you from the purpose of your life, the longing and fulfillment of your soul. Redefine and qualify. Embrace and embody what is useful and serves you in the now. Emergence is dependent on preparation, momentum, and the ability to fully choose what you do, why you do it, and who you are and are becoming as a result, with gratitude and with love. So I was about to close the book, and I got, there's a couple little random thoughts that are also in this book. And one of the ones says, stop the self-judgment and doubt. Focus on love and your desire to know and be more. Serve the highest callings of your soul. Be joyful and grateful for the you that you are right now. In this moment, express appreciation for all that came before and for all that will come from the results of your choices and the actions now. This is the only moment that matters. So fill it with love, gratitude, and joy. So I always love turning to what came through when it was channeled, because I think I shared the channel process. I feel like I'm taking dictation from Spirit. It's like all of a sudden I'm hearing this stream of consciousness and I'm writing it down. So I'm as surprised as anybody I'm reading it to when I read it after I've written it. I'm like, oh, that's kind of cool. Or, oh yeah, that touches my heart. And we talked about it before, but it's worth repeating that anytime you read or listen to or behold anything that's channeled, whether it's a painting, a piece of music, sculpture, a book, a class, whatever, you have the ability to back channel, to trace back to the source that person who brought it through was in touch with. And then you can use that source to answer the questions that you have and to derive the creativity that you're wanting to express, whether it's healing or music or better relationship or better projects at work or processes that are more effective or patents or whatever, right? Whatever it is that you personally want to bring through, you can do that. So that's part of the value of embracing, indulging in, and experiencing anything that's been channeled. So I wanted to share that a little bit. All right. So I haven't been really paying attention to the chat. Any comments or questions or anything there that we can use as a springboard tonight? Chris,
no,
anything you know?
Agreeing with you. And Scott says we listen, we don't judge. And so, yeah, so everybody's agreeing with what you're saying.
Yeah. And, that's such a great point, Scott, about we listen, we observe, but we don't judge. There is no judgment in Spirit. And when people hear me say that, they're like, what do you mean? Of course there's right and wrong. I'm like, there may be right and wrong with our conscience, with societal norms, but from Spirit's perspective, there is no judgment. Whatever you do is a function of your free will and your free choice. It is your personal agency to express good, bad, or indifferent. And good or bad is on whose standard, right? Well, it's always first on your own conscience, on your own decision, right? The only person who could ever judge you is you, because you know your heart, you know your motivations, you know your intentions, you know how much effort you put in, you know what you did or didn't do, right? But as far as spirit's concerned, they are so blown away by our courage to come into physical form and be willing to go through this whole earth experience, that they're like, oh, no, I'm not judging you. I'm in spirit. I don't have a body. I don't have all those responsibilities. I don't have all those things happening that you have. Spirit does not judge us. They will encourage us. They will help us if we want to know what would be the highest expression or best way to unfold our path of our life. Sure, they'll help, with guiding us. But if we turn left when they turn right, they don't go, what an ass. No, they don't judge us. They don't do that. They love us regardless. They, like I said, have this tremendous respect for the courage that we have in giving up the freedoms that we have on the spiritual planes that we existed before here, our willingness to put that veil of forgetfulness up so that we could have the experiences and the growth and go through all of the, oh my goodness, the trials, the tribulations, the learnings, the hard parts of being in a physical body and being in relationships and being on this planet, right? There are challenges that we all have experienced, right? So from a spiritual point of view, they're like, there is absolutely no judgment. We know you're doing the best you can with what you got. There are very few people in this world who have ever existed who are truly malevolent. Very few. When you think about the billions and billions and billions of people that exist, there's people that do bad things out of desperation, or they're trying to help themselves or their family. And if they hurt somebody in the process, it was a byproduct. It wasn't the intention, right? There's very few people in the whole scheme of things that have evil as an intent, of malice as an intent, who are trying to make somebody else's life worse. No, very few. And spirit knows that. We're not perfect. And sometimes we screw up, and sometimes we hurt people by mistake, or by our choices. We put different priorities and people get hurt. It was not an intentional, I tried to screw you over, or I tried to hurt you, or I wanted you to, feel pain, right? We've all been through the ringer one way or the other. I don't know anybody who's had a charmed life. I know people that have lots of blessings and opportunities, but almost everybody I know, I'm trying to think really hard if there's anybody that's like, I looked at them and they're like, wow, you have just had this blessed, charmed life. No, everybody's had something that has happened in their life that has challenged them, because that's part of the reason we're here, to be challenged, to grow, which is why one of my mantras and my constant message that I share with you guys and remind myself in the process is to make a conscious choice to shine our lights. Shine your light. Be kind. Do the right thing whenever you can. Make a difference in people's life. Make a positive impact wherever you get the chance. Even the small little ways, the smile, the kind word to a stranger, letting the old person have the seat on the bus or the train, letting the person get the parking spot that's a little closer, because maybe their knees or back are hurting that day and you're feeling fine. And yeah, I can walk the extra aisle or two, right? Doing those little, those random acts of kindness, man, they are so good for your soul and for everybody, right? Those are the kinds of things that, create that sense of joy and remind us about the unity that we have at the core of our spirit, right? If we are all offspring of spirit, if we are all differentiations of a oneness. And we take on this differentiation in order to have experiences and to grow and become even more of our collective self, then we kind of should have a lot more empathy and compassion for each other, right? Because we're all kind of going through the same thing. We're on the same boat. We're all on, is it the Titanic? I hope not, right? We hope that it's more the Ark versus the Titanic, that, yeah, things might be crazy all around us, but, we're going to survive. We're going to be part of the generation that goes forward and be that light being and help. We talked a little bit about ascension energy. And I was thinking a little bit about that the other day. Like, what exactly what does it mean to ascend, right? Ascension means going to a higher vibration, a higher plane, going to a higher level, ascending, going up, right? So where are we going up to, right? And some people tie it to dimensions. Like, we're going from this 3D dimension to a 4D or a 5D or 7D. And you know what? I've studied physics, but my brain doesn't quite comprehend. Like, I don't know what a 7-dimensional world looks like. I have no idea, right? I don't know. Even a 4-dimensional, I'm like, maybe I have a sense, right? But the ascension itself is a noble pursuit, because it means we're quickening our vibration. We are speeding up our energy. We are embracing more of our talents and our gifts, and again, fulfilling that full measure of our creation. We were made, born, chose to be here for a reason. No one listening, nobody out there was an accident. Because even the quote unquote accidents of the parents that are, oops, hey, we're going to have a baby, right? Even those accidents, from a spiritual point of view, were not accidents. That soul that was coming in, that child wanted those parents, wanted the opportunities of that lifetime. And even if those opportunities were challenges that put them through the ringer, that's what that soul signed up for and said, yep, that's what I want in this lifetime. And that veil of forgetfulness helps us so that we're not the schizophrenic person going, you agreed to what? Why did you want that? This is crazy. This is hard. Like, we'd be having this debate with our soul and our spirit saying, what were you thinking? This is too hard, right? And so we have that forgetfulness, but every time we talk to spirit, we kind of get that confirmation of, no, there is choice here. There's a wisdom. There's a reason. And there's also soul groups that come in around the same time, right? So especially when you're going through a more challenging time, that's when you want to look to see who's in your circle, who's showing up in your life right now, especially once you've made the decision to really manifest the fullness of who you are and what your soul wants to do in this life. The people that show up into your life when you are claiming your power, when you are claiming your birthright and saying, okay, I'm ready to do my soul's work, those are typically the souls that said, oh, we're all going to come down around the same time. And when you're ready, I'm going to help you. We're going to help each other. We are going to become, Team Alpha. We're going to be out there doing it, right? Making it work. So pay attention to the people that start showing up in your life as you're moving more and more in the direction of the person that you are becoming, but maybe you just aren't there yet, right? Again, every day, every other day, a couple days a week, as long as you're starting to move in the direction, doing one small thing that helps you either from the way you think, maybe it's new knowledge you need, maybe it's a new skill you need to hone or develop, maybe it's contacts you need to make, an infrastructure, tools you need to acquire, all of these things, one bit by bit by bit. And I see Scott saying he's like, I don't think I signed up for this. And and that's part of the it's not so much the challenge, but it can be really interesting if you look at your life from where you are now and go back in time and you say, Scott, I would ask you this, and anybody who's having that same thought of like, oh, there's no way in hell I signed up for this, right? And trust me, I've been there in my life. I've said that a few times, like, raise the fist to heaven, like, what? Come on, enough already, right? This is the that I have of myself, right? Because there's no way I can handle what's going on now. But you know what? We do handle it. And sometimes we handle it through the help and support of other people that gather around us, people that come out of the wings to support us, to show us love, to encourage us, to pick us up when we fell down, right? So it's not that you have to do it all on your own. In fact, part of the reason that we incarnated the way we did is so that we would be in community with each other, that we would be here for and with each other. So going back to Scott, whenever you're thinking like, oh, there's no way I signed up for this, one of the things you can do is think back to times in your life when it was really challenging and it changed the trajectory of your life. You made one choice versus another. Can you see the wisdom now, years later, for how you learned a certain skill? You learned resiliency, tenacity. You learned gratitude because you lost something, whether it's possessions or a person or a relationship, right? You might have learned humility. You might have learned the value of service. You might have learned where your true gifts and strengths are, that if you weren't challenged by whatever that situation was, you may never have allowed that to develop. I remember hearing about a certain seed that's in the forest that are only activated after a forest fire. And it was the heat of the fire that actually did something to the outside of the shell of the seed that then allowed for the new growth to come. And unless that fire burns hot enough, that seed just lays dormant. And I was like, ew, is that not a metaphor for life, right? Like we have to go through the fire sometimes in order to activate something inside of us that is ready to blossom and bloom and come out. And yeah, I know when you're going through it, it's human nature. We're going to be like, oh, there's no way I agreed to this. Why, who in their right mind would want to go through this hell? Or who in their right mind would want to do any of this, right? But we do. On a soul level, there is that wisdom. And so even the most horrible things that have happened in my life, and I could sit down and give you a litany of them, and I'm not. But I can tell you, when I think about what did going through that hell bring me, it made me a better teacher. It made me a better counselor. It made me a better person that's filled with such gratitude and appreciation for when good things are in my life. I don't take them for granted because I had an awful lot that was taken away from me in different times of my life that were just horrible. But I got through. And what's the point of having faith if your faith is never tested, right? It's just words then. And faith here doesn't have to be faith in God. It can be faith in your angels. It can be faith in yourself and in your soul and in your soul's wisdom of creating a lifetime of events and challenges and things that are happening that are for your benefit, to make you stronger, to make you better. Goethe said years ago, that which doesn't kill you makes you stronger. And boy, when I heard that quote when I was young, I'm like, oh, great. I'm going to be one of the strongest freaking people on the planet, or going to be dead, right? But, you survive. And then the key is, how do you change and elevate surviving into thriving? And once you turn that corner, then you bless whatever has come into your life. You don't curse the bad and only bless, and be grateful for the blessings. You are able to step back and reflect and be filled with gratitude for the whole of it, because everything that's happened to you, Scott, to anybody who's tuned in, to me, Grizz, anybody, our being now is a culmination of all of the life experiences that we have had up to this point. So it is worth reflecting and saying, well, if this happened versus that, I wouldn't be here now. You don't know where you would have been instead, right? You know, we don't know what that parallel universe would have looked like if our choice point went here instead of here. But we do know that the person that you are right now, the strengths you have, the sensibilities you have, the learnings you have, yeah, even the scars you have, right? Those battle scars, those are the reminders of, hey, I not only survived that, I thrived. I got through it, you know, and I got through it with this one's prayers, that one's energy, this one's help, that one's support, and by my own determination and will. And once you have survived a certain amount of hell and trial and tribulation and craziness in your life, you know what happens? You get to a point where you know what? I can pretty much handle anything that comes at this point. Why? Because I've pretty much been through it all on some level or another. And that can give you a tremendous sense of peace. And then, you know what you're supposed to do? You're supposed to help others. Because once you've gone through that maze of hell and you got out the other side, you go back and you start helping other people that are lost in that maze. And you help them get out. And you help encourage them. And you help share your wisdom and your tenacity. And you cheerlead and encourage because you know it's possible. You got out of the quicksand. You got out of the maze. You survived and thrived when all odds were against you. Great. Now you can be that inspiration to somebody else. That's why your soul said yes. Because you know what? Here's the secret, guys. If you're tuned into this station, if you're listening to this broadcast or watching this podcast, you are a light worker. Whether you know it or not, whether you claim it or not, your soul wants to make a difference in the world. You want to be a positive force for good in the world. Otherwise, you wouldn't be tuned in right now. So because of that great, deepest desire of your soul to be a force for good, you were willing to suffer and go through all those trials and tribulations in order to develop the skill set and the tools and the experiences which would allow you to have the most positive impact now on the people around you and in the future on the people whose lives you're going to touch. So we have to say ponder on it, you know, kind of think about that a little bit. You are perfect in the now. You are who you are and where you're supposed to be right at this moment. And you have the choice of where do you want to be in that next moment? What do you want to manifest in 2025 and beyond? Who do you want to become, but you're just not there yet? That's noble pursuits to put energy into that kind of thinking and time. Oh, God, is that the hour again? My goodness, this is time to bye.
It sure is.
Oh, my goodness. I love you all. I love you, Grizz. I love you all for tuning in. This is my joy and my passion. And thank you so much for giving me a way to share. And I hope my words will touch a few of you out there and maybe give you some food for thought. And take my homework seriously, guys. You know, you have the opportunity to manifest. Be kind to yourselves, be kind to others, and, you know, be that force for good in the world. If enough of us do that, man, it's going to be a beautiful place, a better and better place as time goes on, right? Riz, what thoughts do you have to end? And do you have a show later tonight?
Don't forget, we got a show coming up at 9 o'clock Eastern. Tune in. And from coast to coast, around the world. Godspeed. We'll see you then. Bye-bye.
See you next week.